Deep in the logging camps of Borneo's mountains, the workers feared something far worse than wild beasts. What they dreaded most was counting their numbers at night, and always finding one extra. And sometimes, the sound of a chainsaw echoing in the middle of the night. That night, by the fire, the foreman began to count the men. He froze. There were only 12 of them. Yet somehow, there was one more. That figure sat with its head bowed. The firelight fell upon its body, yet cast no shadow. Forcing himself to stay calm, he checked the workers, counted the tools, and told everyone to rest. When he finally lay down, in the silence of the forest night, a faint sound began to rise. The whine of a chainsaw. But then he remembered. Every chainsaw was locked away in the camp. As if pulled by some unseen force, he found himself rising to his feet, drifting toward the sound of the chainsaw, into the depths of the forest. Horror filled his eyes as he watched a massive tree crack and crash to the ground, sending dust into the air. But when the smoke cleared, there was nothing. No fallen tree. In the thick mist of the jungle, he suddenly saw it. A torso-less spirit, clutching a roaring chainsaw. The howling wind cut through his body like blades. Terror swallowed him whole. He couldn't hold back any longer. With a scream, he turned and ran. The trees swayed in the fog. The moonlight was pale and cold. The glow of the campfire seemed just ahead. Yet no matter how hard he ran, he could never reach it. In that moment of despair, an old belief, still found among some rural communities in Malaysia and Indonesia, flashed through his mind. Wearing clothes inside out, turning trousers upside down, even reversing a shirt, all were seen as rituals of reversal, a way to confuse spirits, to invert yin and yang, to escape the illusion woven by the dead. Shaking with fear, he stopped, tore off his trousers, and clumsily pulled them over his head. All the while whispering frantic prayers. Desperate for this ritual to shatter the phantom maze, he ran desperately through the forest, yet always found himself back at the spot where the giant tree had fallen. The chainsaw's roar echoed in the darkness, sometimes near, sometimes far, like a predator that never stopped chasing. Again and again, branches and roots tripped him, throwing him into the mud. It was as if he had fallen into a nightmare with no end. At last, no one knew how long had passed. A sharp, heavy crow of a rooster split through the suffocating night. His vision cleared, and there it was. The campfire. Flickering just a few steps away. By the fire lay a pair of soaked trousers, stained with mud and black blood. A broken piece of a chainsaw chain still clung to the fabric. Then it struck him. Just last month, an indigenous worker had been crushed by a fallen tree, his body torn apart by his own chainsaw. That man had once labored under him, saving every cent to make the journey home. But in this ruthless logging trade, the foreman had denied his leave, again and again. The worker never made it back. He was left here forever, on this cursed path. Realization dawned. And the terror of the night, the endless chase, finally broke him. The foreman's body gave way, collapsing heavily beside the fire. At dawn, the logging camp lay shrouded in damp mist. The workers found the foreman still unconscious, his forehead burning hot. He murmured in delirium,
"The chainsaw, tearing me apart. It hurts."
A chill spread through their hearts. Something was terribly wrong. They had no choice but to seek help from a shaman in a nearby indigenous village. The shaman arrived and instructed them to gather banana leaves, fragrant herbs, tree bark, and a black-feathered rooster. Soon, a makeshift altar stood beside the campfire. He lit the herbs, filling the air with white and bluish smoke that curled around the foreman's body. In his hands, a bamboo rattle and a drum kept a steady, haunting rhythm, as if driving away something unseen. Then, with a swift motion, he slit the rooster's throat. Its blood was sprinkled onto the fire and at the foreman's feet. A symbolic offering. A bargain of substitution. The shaman chanted,
Return! Return! Go back to the earth! Trouble not the living.
While reciting, he dipped a branch into the blood, drawing sigils across the foreman's chest. Finally, he buried a wooden talisman at the camp's entrance, a barrier against the restless dead. The ritual lasted until first light broke through the trees. As the mist dispersed, the camp reeked of herbs, smoke, and iron-rich blood. Days later, the foreman's fever finally broke, but his strength never returned. He could no longer bear the sight of a chainsaw. Even the low hum of wind through the forest filled him with dread. Not long after, he quit his job and left the logging camp for good. But the workers remained uneasy. They knew the dead man's spirit had not departed. From then on, no one dared to count heads during the night watch, because they knew the restless soul would return, sit silently by the fire, and sometimes, in the dead of night, help them cut down the towering trees that loomed in the darkness.